said, be brave, my son, I'll be home soon. The boy held on to hope till he got that awful news. And as they folded up the stars and stripes, 21 guns pointed towards the sky. As the shots rang out, he flinched a little each time. Then a soldier in his best dress walked up to him, and you know the rest.
Operation Encore is a 501c nonprofit that is helping veterans turn into rock stars every single day. You can learn more about what Operation Encore is doing by going over to their website at www.operationencore.org. That is www.operationencore.org. If you can give them a hand, just click that little donate button or follow all of their social medias and learn exactly what they are doing to change the lives of our veterans every single day. Hey, welcome everybody to Spirits and Stories. This is your host, Donald Dunn. Hey, I've been looking forward to this episode for a while. I am not going to even lie. At the end of the day, I am excited, and I think y'all will be too. So I'm going to introduce Aiden Gabor. He is a former associate of a well-known crime family. He worked undercover for more than a decade as a confidential informant for the Department of Justice. Serving as a police officer in undisclosed locations, he is responsible for helping the DOJ arrest and convict more than a dozen high-ranking police officers and politicians. He has written one of the best books about the mob and now has found peace in the Bahá'í faith. Let's welcome Aiden.
Hey, Donald. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. So, man, I think
last name, I'm letting you know last name's Gabor, so just letting you know that, sir.
Okay, Aiden Gabor, got it. Did I pronounce the faith right too? I wasn't sure on.
It's the Bahá'í faith.
Bahá'í faith. Okay. Well, yeah, I definitely want to get into that because I learn a little bit more about it. I'd never heard of it. But so why don't we start by introducing you and find out a little bit about your background, and then we'll just take it from there.
Well, thank you, Donald. My name's Aiden Gabor. As a teenager, I worked for, I guess you want to call it, a crew for a family, and I helped do collections and take care of certain areas to make sure it's all done all the way up until my late teens, going to 20s, and then going to college. I started working for the DOJ. They wanted me to go and basically help in areas that I knew with people I've seen as officers and politicians that were on the take and up and doing things they shouldn't be doing while supposed to be upholding the law.
Yeah.
And pretty much went from there to, yes, sir.
As politicians, boy, I tell you what, I'm sure you had a whole pond of fish to fish from there.
Yeah. So it's I went from there to, if you read all, I went through several things in my life, from being alcoholic to putting a gun to my head. I can't tell you how many times flipping the, rolling the chamber and pulling the trigger at least 200, 300 times. And for some reason, God had a reason for me not for it to go off. And I went from there to meeting the love of my life. I had a toxic relationship, my first. And I mean, I'll admit to it, I was not the greatest husband in the world, probably pretty bad, because I was a very, not a nice, pleasant person to be with, to meet. And to finding a faith of the Baha'i faith and learning that everybody's equal, and that, even coming from the low of the low, and even though I did do good things, I did a lot of bad, that you can make the world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I can't believe that many times, man.
So
And
I mean
I,
that's kind of yeah.
yeah, I just can't even imagine it, man. I know in the veteran community that's a uh, something that is very high and dear. Would you say that was that from the area that you grew up in, and that stress from? Because I mean, getting into your bio, what you did, especially going undercover, there's no way that that was not stressful. That there had to be a ton of stress that came along with that.
It, it was that, if you get into law enforcement, you learn it's a blue line, and you
Mhm.
don't basically tell on your brothers and sisters. You don't narc on them. You don't say this is what's happening.
Right.
And I felt, even though I knew these guys were not good guys, I just had that, I would have nightmares and hallucinations of, Saint Michael with the flaming sword coming after me and telling me that I betrayed everything and that you're very disloyal and you're this and everything. And they, to the point I was drinking and I just thought, this is better off. Let me just do this. And I had a 357 Magnum,
Mm.
and I would put a Magnum around in there, and I'd spin that chamber and I'd pull it. And I know at least 200 times I've done it. It's probably a lot more than that. I mean, we're talking an everyday occurrence.
Wow. Yeah, 200 times in a 6 round chamber. I would say that the Lord definitely was looking out for you, because the odds were in your favor that you were going to hit that one.
Yeah, yeah. It's the feeling. It's hard for me to describe. I just felt that I did something wrong. And the first
Mhm.
part when it came to me, I never ever said anything against the crew, the guys I ran with, and people think I did, and I never. I told them they can kiss my ass if they think I'm going to talk about those guys. Now, bad politicians, and police officers, and stuff. That was a pretty. At first, I was pretty hesitant, but after I got into it, realizing and getting into law enforcement, realizing they need to be upholding the law and learning that, the things that they see, the things they have to do. And it's that old saying, walk a mile in my shoes.
Yeah.
Walking a mile as a law enforcement officer, I mean, the men and women of the blue are every day. Just the military, the military's got it just as tough, if not worse. But the men in blue are so disrespected, and the men and women in blue, and back in that day, it wasn't as bad as it is today, but it still was somewhat bad. You're still the bad popo,
Yep.
and um, it just got to me. Um, and then when I never had to testify because they would say testify that you would be one and done. They wanted me because I knew these people and they would basically could trust me. So put a snake in a snake pit and
Yeah.
see what you bring out. And I would get the information they needed, and I did what I had to do. And these were supposed to be good guys that were very, very bad. And some of the things they did, is unspeakable that you can't even talk about.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but I remember reading a study one time that said in order to be at that high top presidential CEO, high government range, a lot of the same characteristics that come in a psychopath or a narcissist, you have those same traits. And when you've got that much power, you feel like you can do anything. Nothing is going to stop you or above you. You play with a different set of rules. So I found it interesting, and I kind of want to back up to the beginning just a second. And so when you got to the college age, late teens, what caused the DOJ to come to you with this proposition? Was it that you'd gotten in trouble and it was either or was it just that you had connections and they wanted to use them?
it was that, back in the Eddie was being said. Now Eddie, everything broke up with the FBI, and everybody got in and started taking down everybody in the crew and everybody around us. And he told me to just go to college and make everything better. And he took off. They eventually caught him. He got betrayed by his wife, and when he wanted to visit his son, because he did ask me if I could make sure his son stays okay and keep him away from things, but they ended up going to witness protection. But I still, to this day, I still talk to him.
Okay.
They came to me because they had pictures. They had pictures of me with Eddie and with Dominic and all the other guys. And they would tell me, you know what, and they had my mom with them, and they had my father. My father worked with them, did things for them. And they had pictures, and they said, hey, I'm a dumb kid. They said, you don't do it. You're going to look at 70-some years with Rico in prison, and your mom, we're going to do the same to your mother and father. And I was a mama's boy. I don't care what man out there will say. Every man is somewhat of a mama's boy, and I was. I talked to my mom every day until she passed. And I was scared of that. I mean, they basically did that and let me stew for a couple months. And I really did, thinking I didn't have a choice. But as I started to get into it, I realized, I'm actually doing something good. And then I went into it kicking and screaming.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize, hey, this needs to be done. Somebody needs to be out there and to do this, to get these people, because we don't, it's just going to get worse. Like the old saying is, one bad police officer make 100,000. One bad one makes 100,000 look bad. 100,000 good officers, one bad one, just everybody thinks they're all bad. And if you can stop and get rid of a couple of them, is that going to help? I'm hoping. I hope people understand one reason. I mean, this book was written to be therapeutic, and it didn't. And you hit on the nail. To do something like I did, you have to have some kind of disorder. I've been told I'm not empathetic. I don't have any empathy, and I don't. If somebody gets hurt, I laugh. I see blood. As long as it's not my blood, I laugh, or a family member. Other than that, I remember beating up on people, and I would laugh, say it sucks to be them, and I had no okay, what I'm doing is wrong, and I still to this day fight with that. I do, and I do fight with that, and going back with military person, even though I never served in the military, I don't think I can ever do it. But people understand when you go in the military, they're training you to be a killer. That's what they're training you to do. You're not out there to be you're to be a crossing guard. You're out there to kill. Then they expect to throw you back into society and say, get back to it, become a model citizen. And God bless these men and women that can do that. Law enforcement is kind of getting there, and I know a lot of officers that have taken their lives, and a lot of officers right now that are retired, and they're messed up.
Yeah.
And it's from everything you see, and you can't get rid of it. Yep. And then they train you to do it, and then expect you just to go back and forget everything.
Yeah, that's,
and that's why,
I was just going to say, the sad part about that is I always tell people, being an officer is like being that fast food worker dealing with that one really hard person that's a total dick. Well, that's the officer every time he interacts with the customer. There's never a happy person that says, "Oh, I'm glad to see you. Thanks for giving me that ticket, officer. I'll drive safer." It doesn't happen. So everybody you deal with hates you. They're mad at you, and so just that alone would be tough. But then you start adding in, just like you were saying, the accidents that you're seeing, children and good families just getting hurt. And I think it's worse than being a soldier, because at least as a soldier, you get a break from it. You go for a year or so and you come back, and then you get that 9 months off. Well, you get 2 days off and you're back to work as a police officer. And I think that'd be tougher. I really do.
Doing it, even though I was had other things I had to do, I was doing both. The guys dealt with, and the women, men and women, they dealt with a lot of bullshit. And, you know, the mental aspect, especially if you see child abuse, that was a big one of mine, you know. I just, that kind of got to me. And then when you see the guys that are supposed to be protecting them working with gangs and doing things they shouldn't be doing and helping other bad people that are hurting and selling drugs and doing things that you're thinking, no, this has got to stop. You know, it was hard. You know, I mean, I also had probably 2 dozen times people put guns to my head, you know, and I had to think on my feet. There's a couple of them that, you know, you're going up a flight of stairs and somebody puts a gun to you and you're underneath them, you're already at disadvantage. And you have to either think hard and quick, or that's it. And I you know, now I think about it, I'm like, I can't believe the shit I got away with and did. But at the time, I wasn't worried about dying. I wasn't scared. I always, you know, you got the Superman mentality. And, you know, I look at it as just dealing with that on the inside, and then the officers dealing with the people you're with. And like I used to say, same thing when I worked as a teenager and did enforcement and stuff. If you see my lovely face, I'm not there because I wanted to see you. You did something or you didn't pay your bill or pay what you needed to pay. And they're sending me to talk to your dumb ass to make sure they pay. And make sure you get back because you don't want to see my happy face. You know, that's something you didn't want. And as a law enforcement officer, they're not out there picking and choosing. If you're speeding, you're speeding. If you're doing something stupid, you're doing it. It's the old saying, stupid games bring stupid prizes.
Yep.
And so people like, oh, he gave me a ticket. Well, were you speeding? You know, or somebody said, you know, oh no, I wasn't. It's like seeing those videos out there and they show like the media half truths. They show one perspective, then you see the whole video and you understand how it worked out. Well, you want to do the half truth to make the officer look bad, but when you see the whole truth, oh well, it was misunderstanding. No, you were trying to blow it out of proportion.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So when they approach,
the same thing with nowadays. Go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say, so when they approached you to do this, did they bring you in just like a regular police officer, send you to the police academy and that whole 9 yards, or was there a different form of training that they use?
You know what they did is they told me you're going to have to do what you're going to do. We're not going to be there to protect you. You're not going in as an undercover. You're going in as an informant. You're going in on your own. So the shit goes bad. You're on your own. You're screwed. You need to do this so you don't go to jail. They, you know, like I say nowadays, I don't trust the government. I never will. And they send you in, and what they did is, you know, get out of school, flunk your way out, party your way out. Pissed off my dad when that happened. When I told him after my freshman year, I don't want to do something. And then go to the academy and get yourself in. And because I was in shape and I was a good athlete, you know, and then I got on the first department. They wanted me to look. There was a guy posing as a hitman. I told my dad what I was doing. He looked at me and he goes, "You're going to be a fucking flatfoot? Are you kidding me? Aiden, are you really kidding me?" I go, no, sir. And he's like, "Get the fuck out of my face." And we didn't talk for a long time, years after that. First of all, I dropped out of school and then I became a cop. It's like I like spitting at him is what he basically said. I spit in his face. And then I would go in and
go ahead.
It was just tough. No, I would go in and I would get close to these people. And, you know, being what I did, most of them knew me. So they're like, "Yeah, what are you doing? Why are you being a cop?" I go, "Hey, you got to do something, you know? Hey, I think I could make some good extra side cash doing this." And they laughed. They said, you got good talents to do it in, you know? So it kind of they kind of wanted, like it's a snake going into the snake pit, and you're going to trust your own.
Yeah. I could see that too. I mean, that would play out so well because you were known from that, and you come in, and you didn't even come in lying. Yep, I'm a cop now. Here I am, but I'm just doing this to make extra money, and now they're thinking, okay, now we got somebody on the inside that can help us, and so absolutely, I could see
Yeah,
how that would play out. So how did the connections with politicians come about?
yeah. I mean, I remember commissioners, one of the commissioners said, "Yeah, hey, all right, you're going to do this." He goes, "Are you going to toe the line?" I go, "Sir, do whatever you need me to do." Yeah, all right. And I remember him telling one of the other officers, one of the detectives, "Yeah, you know what? He Aiden's in there. Let me tell you. So he's gonna. I already talked to him. He's going to toe the line. He's going to do what needs to be done." And even though the one officer and I, we didn't like each other, and when he's older, and he remembers me as a kid. You know, I wasn't too heartbroken over some of these guys going because they were assholes. I mean, I was an asshole, but these guys were too. And I mean, didn't lose any sleep over them. I was the other officers and the other men and women that, I felt like I was betraying, you know. And then towards the end, when everything started happening, people started getting indicted and all this, fingers started getting pointed, and it became like the rats leaving the ship. Everybody. So there was no way you can really figure out who was doing what. So it kind of worked out, kind of played out, when all the shit started happening.
Yeah. So you get into the inside, and people are accepting you. Um, how many years did this actually go on?
Well, my first one went on for almost 3 years, the first off, so 2 years. And then when I finally got the second one, it was a good 9 years of all kinds, because there was, like I said, there was a dozen or so plus people involved in this. Like I wrote in the book, names, places, and some things have been changed to protect the guilty because everybody's guilty in this book. There's nobody that's innocent, because even the author. We've all done very bad things, but it's with some of the things, there's still people out there pissed off at me, and they think I did things, and they've already tried to pop me a couple times, and so um, it's a little tough sometimes with that, and like I said, you get the inside, and they trusted me, and they're like, "Yeah, you're one of us. You're not, we don't know you. We know your background." There was no hiding my background. It was funny part. Some of the individuals that we would interact with as an officer were like some of the lowlifes. They're like, "Whoa, Aiden, all right. Whoa, what are you doing with the popo?" And I'd start talking like, "Oh shit, man, these guys take just about anybody." So, you get conversations like that with some of them, and then they do the arresting. I'm like, "You serious? I seen you do some shit." Yeah, well, I don't recall any of that shit. So shut up, But yeah, that's what that's what once I got in there, it was a long time, doing everything I did, and overall, it was a good over 15 years.
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, the one advantage that you did have is you got to be you. You didn't have to portray a whole nother image because you're portraying yourself. You came from this background. Your crew split up, and you had to get a job, and college wasn't for you, so you went to the police department. And so it's all a believable story with some enticing to it. And while you're going through this, I mean, I'm sure you still had those moments where it was like you said, somebody holding a gun to your head, and you had to think fast of how to get out of that situation. And these go on for years, like you just said. These investigations don't happen overnight.
No,
How hard
no,
was
no,
that?
they You know, that was hard. And the worst part is I couldn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
So I had all that building up inside me. And I think that's part of what me becoming an alcoholic, because it was something to do. And it's not, I wasn't one of those ones to go to the bar and sit there. I was doing that at home by myself. And, you know, my buddy Don is the one that found me basically after 3 days, didn't know where I was, found me in a hotel, trying to figure out. He basically he saved my life in that aspect of it. That he slapped me back into reality, and he helped me a lot, not knowing he was helping at that time. At that time, he's another officer that I grew up with, and he he found me. He just, you know, you got to stop this. And he used to push me. He was very Catholic, so he's like, you got to believe in God. And I'm like, you know, I would joke, I recruit for the other guy. You know, I have no belief in religion whatsoever. And that really showed by my early way my characteristics were, that I had no belief in God. I didn't feel unwhole, but I knew I was unwhole. I had nothing inside of me. You know, it didn't bother me to hurt somebody. So once I found that religion, it did make it did make a big positive influence on me.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see that. And, you know, I'm picturing this, you know, unfortunately, all I got is old TV shows to go by, but, you know, I'm picturing this younger kid coming to these businesses and shaking them down because they didn't pay. I mean, did you have any issues with people taking you serious, or did they know your connections and who you're with?
You know, at first they kind of looked at me. I was big for my age, you know, and Eddie saw something in me as a kid, because we used to have gatherings, and I get in a lot of fights, and the cops would show up and like, what happened? And I'm like, we're teaching each other wrestling moves. And I'm like, and they'd like put me aside, and they're like, well, you can tell us, Aiden, what happened. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And he would see something with that. He used to tell me, hey, stop by the shop. I got something for you. So he'd tell me, bring this to this person and bring whatever he gives you back, or just drop this off, or go pick this up. But don't look in it. Don't do anything. Just bring it straight to me. And I would do it, and I'd get $50. I mean, at the time, I was like 10. You know,
Yeah.
kid at that age, way back when, you got $20. You know, you hit the candy store. You were living a king.
Yep.
And it progressively got from there. And I mean, most of the time when I started out, I was never by myself. I had Dominic with me, or I had Joey, or a couple other, Nikki, and nobody was going to mess with them. Now, one of them, yeah, he was a puss. He would throw at the side. It was always funny because he'd throw up at the sight of blood, but he was trying to be tough. And but you know, there's a couple times. I mean, I got stabbed a couple times. I remember, you know, and I had a temper. There was a guy walking by, and we were sitting there eating, and Eddie goes, "Hey, that motherfucker owes me 15 grand." So without thinking, I go running over there and grab him, and he looks at me, and I just start beating the shit out of him. I'm on the ground, kicking him, and Dominic came over and pulled me off. He's like looking at me. He goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" He goes, "I go pay the fucking money, or I'm going to cut your nuts off." I'm telling this guy this. And I'm eating a sandwich the whole time. Never left my sandwich is still in my hand. And I was still eating it as I'm beating the crap out of this guy. And he's just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And I got that nickname, and I hated that nickname. I mean, everybody has a couple different ones, but that's the one that stuck. And, you know, because he's like, really? You didn't put your sandwich down? Are you that fucking hungry? I wasn't thinking of it. And he's just shaking his head. I mean, Dominic and I didn't like each other. I mean, the first time I met him, he pushed me around and stupid punk, and I took a pipe and I hit him with it. And that was very disrespectful. And I learned the hard way from him. And almost got shot that day. And Eddie stopped it. And the one time we were driving together, the first time, I'm talking and he's driving, he just punches me in you know, the whole thing where the world's spinning and like the cartoons. Yeah, that's what I felt. He's like, you know what? That's the last time. Don't ever fucking do that again, or you're dead. So you learn the hard way, and learned young that, everybody talks about, they're going to kill this person or kill that person. That's not good business. Most of the time, if anybody did anybody to anybody else, it was another crew. You didn't really deal with the public. You were mostly attacking each other.
Yeah.
And I learned that a couple ways, what I heard. I never saw anything bad, but you know, you learn that, and it's a respect thing. To this day, respect's big with me.
Yeah.
And that's where you learn. And once you start respecting each other, it becomes a family. And just like in law enforcement, the blue line, it's a family. And when I started out with them, it was just that I was a big kid. I didn't have any issues about beating up anybody or doing anything to anybody. It didn't bother me. I had no, I didn't feel like I was hurting anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that feelings. I mean, to this day, I have a hard time with some of that. And I'm getting better at it. But, I've been diagnosed that, you don't have empathy, you don't have this, your morals you have, but you don't have like, hey, you're hurting somebody. You need to understand that's a bad thing.
Right.
I'm getting better at it. But you're right. You got to have that killer instinct that you have to have that, you have to be a little bit of a psychopath in order to to work in that type of industry.
Yeah. I mean, like you said at the beginning, it is similar to the military. I mean, there's a reason why all the targets that we shoot at are silhouette shaped like a person. It's not because they couldn't afford bullseyes. I mean, that they want you to get used to that so it becomes muscle memory. And in the industry that you're in, the feelings and emotions that you're talking about now would be crippling. I mean, you're not going to make it if you're feeling bad about what you're doing. You're not going to make it if you're in the military at war and you're feeling bad about what you're doing. So you have to be able to put those emotions at bay. And it would make sense with how long. I mean, you started this at 10 years old. That's the most developmental time for a boy. And these emotions were probably trained no different than what the military does to other people. They brainwash you to feel and use emotions as tools versus coping mechanisms.
Exactly. You can't think.
Yeah.
You have to do it. That split second. It's just like in law enforcement. Everybody says, "Oh my God, why didn't you just do this?" Or because you don't have that luxury of that. Half a second think that I'm doing something bad. That should I be doing this? You have to either think yes or no. And that blink of an eye, that's 1/100th of a second. Military, same way. You think you die.
Yeah.
So they want to build you into a machine, and a killing machine. And like I said, and then, hey, when it's all done over, go back and be a normal human being. Be normal.
Yep.
You're never going to be normal.
No.
You
No.
know, and I like to this day, whenever I see disrespect towards the military, disrespect towards different cultures and stuff, I really get upset, and I get in a lot of trouble because I open my mouth. I don't know when to shut up sometimes. But the one thing you don't, you have what you have because of the military. You have what you have because of law enforcement.
Yep.
If you don't have it, like, oh, we're going to defund the police. Really? How's that going to work out for you? How did it work out for Seattle or over in the other areas, the Twin Cities? How's that work out for you? It's not working out well.
Yep.
And people who've never done it or never walked a mile in either a soldier's shoes or a law enforcement person's shoes, then they can't understand. But don't do something you don't understand. Don't mock something you don't understand. And don't ever disrespect the military or the American flag. Because you know what? My parents came from a country that was under communist rule. Go deal with that for listening to the stories that they went through. have them go deal with that for a while. See what they think of America after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I laughed when I seen all these pictures of protesters that says it said something like LGBTQ supports Hamas, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why don't you gone over there and hold that sign on up and walk down the streets and see how much you support them? Because
Yeah.
in those environments, they're not gonna like you because you're female, and then they find out that you're gay on top of that. Oh man, it ain't
No,
gonna go good.
no, not at all. And that's what gets me is, I've seen, and I got into an argument with a couple college kids that were like, wearing the colors of Palestine and all. I'm like, do you know what you're supporting?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's genocide. They're the ones that started the genocide. You guys are so smart, you're stupid. And we get in disagreements, and I'm asked, can you please leave? And I'm the bad guy, which, okay, I'm going to open my mouth and said, they're a bunch of idiots. But I was just stating facts.
Yep.
And yeah, again, yeah, go ahead. They really love gays with that. And, uh, just like, the Baha'i faith, which I found,
Hmm.
I've always believed that men and women are equal. If you look at our faiths, men and women aren't equal. Women are subservient to man. And in the Baha'i faith, men and women are equal because I grew up and my dad's like, you know what, your mother, she runs the house. Who runs the house? The mother.
Yep.
So men and women are equal in every respect. And that's what Baha'i faith looks at. And everybody's equal. We all are. And I've learned that no matter what color you are, white, pink, purple, green, whatever, we all bleed red. And if you, like I said, if you don't bleed red, there is something wrong with you.
Yep.
But we're all the same inside. And that's what the Baha'i faith, and that's what I found. And when I did it, Sam, my buddy, and Sabrina, my wife, both said, see, you need to bring this in. And I was reading and I did feel warmth and I felt something. And I agree with, the men and women are equal, all that, everything. And I was told, hey, you were always a Baha'i, but you never knew it. And I do. And to this day, I do classes. I do all this thing in Baha'i faith. And like everybody, like you said, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
First time I heard of it, I had to look it up. And then I got all the books and readings on it. And once you look it up, yeah, it is the youngest faith. Abdul Baha'i did do a miracle. It's the only one ever really recorded by newspapers back in the 1850s. That, this is a faith that, if we did what we should do, like the governments don't believe in religion because it's basically they want to control you. And religion doesn't allow them to control you.
Right.
And if you live life based on what the teachings are in any faith, because we believe in we believe in Jesus, we believe in Muhammad, we believe in all the messiahs that have come prior. And we all believe in one God. It's the same God. It's just that we all look at him differently.
Yep.
And if you understand that and learn that you can live together and work together, yeah, but it's going to be a long time before it ever happens. Valleys and plateaus we're going to keep doing. Right now we're in a deep valley. Hopefully we'll move back up to the plateau. And it's something that if you don't have faith, you don't have anything. And that's what I found out. And it's like military saying, there is no atheists in a foxhole. There isn't. Everybody's going to say something. And you need to believe in a God because if you're going to be in certain situations, you're going to, hey, you know what? Like the Marines would say, I'm sending them to where they want to go, to their God, and which they would send me if they did something to me.
Yep.
And I have embraced it. And my wife and I have been watching The Chosen, and I would never in my life have ever thought I would do that. And I'm really, because I never read the Bible, never went to Bible classes. And I'm really really enjoying it, and I'm starting to understand it. And I think that's something we all should look into, that we need to do in the faith. I don't care what it is. My best friend Don, who helped me, he's Catholic, and he comes to my classes sometimes. My wife, Sabrina, she's staying in the Catholic faith, and she helped me in my classes for 3 years, took classes with me, did everything with me, but she never converted because she was doing it for me to learn and with the love and support.
Yeah.
And I think that's would be something that people should look into. And I know it's a very small part of the book, but every little part, I didn't put everything I did or all my little things I did in law enforcement or things I did when I ran with the crew or when I fell in love, I just put that in there, or the high faith. But it's in there because it brought me to the end where I understand that, I feel whole now. I felt a warmth that I never felt before.
Yeah. That's one of the pillars of life. Mind, body, and faith are major pillars. And if you don't have one of those pillars, that you're going to have that emptiness. You're not going to feel like you're on your path or you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're going to continue to search. And I can vouch for that because before I even got out of the military, I was lost. And without having all of those pillars in place, it makes it easier for things like depression and everything else to come about because you or yourself are not feeling good about yourself. And so faith is a huge part of that. You have to believe in something. Without that, you don't have motivation.
No. And just like you were saying with your sponsor about, there is somebody there for our veterans that go to get the help. If you can't go there, go to your local church. I don't care what denomination it is, they're going to help you. You can go to a synagogue, they're going to help you. They're not going to tell you get the F out of here. They're going to find a way of helping you out because faith is based on that. That's faith, you're right, based on helping each other out, helping a fellow human being out. And if you don't do that, you're right, you are not whole. And I believe me, I felt that when I really started getting that aha moment. I was sitting outside in the sun and the brightness and then I just felt the warmth and I thought, I feel different inside. And I started reading more. And I'm not a big reader. I have dyslexia and I don't read that well. I don't retain as well. And it made me want to keep reading. And I think that if everybody looked at the world that way, that it would be a better place. I know it's not human nature. You're always going to have war. I like the idiots say, well, certain animals don't have wars. Every animal has a war. That's what those fights are. They're not there to be friends in some of them.
Yep. Yeah.
But if we can we need to teach younger generation that they can be better to each other. They can get rid of racism. They can get rid of all this, but it's all through learning and teaching. You got to be taught that, and I think in the religions will bring it together. It gives that family atmosphere. That's why a lot of these young kids join gangs. They don't have a family. That's their family. I mean, I did things with Eddie because I really didn't have a family, and there was my family. He was my mentor. He may not have been the greatest mentor in the world, but he taught me respect the women. One of his big things he told me was, we don't sell drugs. We do numbers. We do certain. We don't sell. Well, I'm not going to put the way you put it, but the gang members do their own areas, their own part of town. Let them do it. We'll get a cut. And we worked together, but we didn't help them sell the yo or do any of that stuff. They stayed out of our way. We stayed out of theirs. But we never touched. If we were caught doing any drug or anything like that, that was not a good ending for you.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And I think a lot of organized crime kind of went with that philosophy. Even the biker world for a long period fought against having anything to do with drugs, and then it finally broke, and that's when a lot of these bigger biker clubs, Hell's Angels and stuff like that, really got noticed, was from the drug selling and trading and hauling and everything else that they were doing. But it was a kind of, until you stepped into that, it allowed you to kind of be under the radar, I guess, so to
Mhm.
say. It brought on a lot of heat and a lot of attention, probably possibly because of how fast the money came in.
Yep.
That's a big indicator. Even in the military with our younger soldiers, we monitored by watching what they wore, watch what they drove, and when you started seeing people living above their means, that was your indication that they're probably not doing something correct. Most privates don't drive Corvettes. What is going on here?
Yep. You know, that's it. And that's what it is. It's the Benjamins, the almighty dollar. And that's what everybody wants.
Yep.
I know people that have money and they're not always happy.
Oh.
But, you know, you can use, that's it. Drugs, to me, I mean, unless it's for medical reasons, which some drugs are very good for medical reasons, but selling of certain drugs, that fentanyl and stuff like that, and it's a money generating thing. But you're right. Once you start doing something like that, you're above the radar. Now you're being noticed.
Yep.
And everybody says, "Well, I want to be like Pablo Escobar." Yeah, how did he do? How did he end up? He ended up on a roof dead. I mean, come on.
Yep. And along with his son's now in jail too.
Yeah, yeah, just like you got the cartels. I mean, Guzman, all them, they're all in prison because why? Because of the drugs, and they're legalize it, but it's not going to stop it.
Nope.
You look at and then the areas that have it, yeah, they're prospering a little bit, but you look at Oregon. I mean, have you driven to Oregon? It's like a freaking homeless shelter. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm not saying it meanly,
No,
but
you are
everybody
right.
lives in a shanty town, and California's becoming that.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate.
I
And
used to I used to deliver a load to Oregon. Usually about once a month or so, I would take a load of soap out there. And you're absolutely right. All these businesses had people living in the front of their property, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and I used to stay at this truck stop that was in that town, and I would do my reset there. And there was a little hotel. I'd go get a hotel room, and I didn't understand it because in the back of that hotel, every parking lot was filled full of campers. And I was talking to the owner one day. I said, "What is the deal with all these campers?" And he said, "Well, with the way the living conditions are here, I make more from renting parking spots for campers than I do from hotel rooms." And people had been there for so long, they were building decks off their campers. I was just in shock. He said, "Yeah." He said, "All you got to do is have a pool," and that people were paying like $500-600 a month to park there.
Oh, geez, that's and that's unfortunate, and I know back in the day I would be a lot worse than I am now. The faith has gotten me to be a better person or whatever, but there's still, you know, like I was told by Sam, be the best Baha'i you could be every day because you can never be perfect. And there's a lot of things I have to, that still get to me and I get in trouble. I say, talk to, yell at people that I see are doing bad things. And I've been there, so I know what they're doing. There's nothing you're going to pull on me that I didn't pull on somebody else, and I can get in your ass because I know what you're doing. You're not going to pull one on
Yep.
me, and yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. We're hopefully we'll get better. Like I said, we're in a valley right now. Hopefully we'll work our way back up, but it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
And some of the things in the United States, the disrespect to veterans, the disrespect to law enforcement, the migrant invasion, that they get paid more money than our veterans. I mean, I can fathom that. If somebody on disability makes a tenth of what these no one's ever worked, yet they can vote. In
Yep.
some states, they can become a police officer and not be a citizen. I mean, well, I heard that one, and that really threw me off.
Yeah. That doesn't make any damn sense.
No, and then you see these videos on how to come to the United States and get paid. You know, you don't have to do anything. You'll get paid rent. You'll get paid food. You'll get paid this. You get paid living expense. You know, spending money. And they got videos on how to do it coming from like Venezuela or other countries. And I just look at this, you know, and the scary part is from what I hear is the Chinese coming across there. We have issues with China. Really?
Yep. I just seen an article about an illegal Chinese immigrant tried to walk onto Twin Palms training facility, the Marine training base. It's out in the middle of the desert and nowhere. No Marine wants to be there, but it's all the major training ground that everybody goes to, and some undocumented Chinese guy tried to walk on.
Well, isn't that the base that they bought like 100,000 acres right next door to it?
So funny that you mentioned that. I was just listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how if you take a map and you lay it down that's got all of our military installations on it, and then you take an overlay map and lay it down of all the land that has been bought by China, and all of it is around different military installations.
Doesn't surprise me. And he just happened to walk on. Seriously, they're testing.
Yep.
What the?
Yep.
Okay, that I didn't know. That's the first I heard of that.
Yep. It was
Wow,
on the news a couple days ago.
that's just scary. That's all I got to say.
Yep. I mean, that's exactly what you do. You test the perimeters, and you see what the response times are, and you know, that's how you test to see what the best angles are. What
Yeah,
happens?
weak points.
Yep.
You get those weak points. You find a weakness in their perimeter, right? And a weakness in their defenses. That's what you look for. There's always something. There's always a weakness somewhere. You probe till you find it. You know, I have friends that I know from Vietnam, and that's what they used to tell me that they used to do. They would probe and probe. They didn't care how many guys they lost, but once they found that weak point, they would take advantage of it.
Yep. Yeah. At the end of the day, it was the same way in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, I did 68 months between Iraq, Afghanistan, and Bosnia, and Afghanistan was the absolute worst. I mean, they tested you in every way, and the littlest clues that they figured out, they would act on them. You know, like they would shoot mortar rounds at us, and they would have people on the base, local workers, calculating how much time before people ran to the area where the mortar round hit. And once they learned that, they would let the round hit, they'd wait that time, and they'd send another one in the exact same spot.
Oh,
You know,
thank you for your service. I mean, that had to have been tough.
yeah. I mean, you're constantly changing your tactics on how you react to situations, because our training methods are on the damn news. They're on there's videos of them of what we do and how we train, and then soldiers talking about things that they should just not talk about, and it puts everybody at risk.
Yes, like back in World War II, they're listening. Don't say, with loose lips think ships.
Yep.
You got to learn to shut up.
Yep. Absolutely. Wait, I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, but if you had to talk about and think about one particular bust that happened, which one sticks into your mind that makes you the happiest that it was successful?
Well, the happiest one, I had was my first one, and he was a guy that portrayed himself as a hitman. He did a couple of hits as a police officer, and he would show up he would do his little hit and then show up at work and get that zone, and wow, his fingerprints, everything's there. And he tried to become in a crew of another area, and I don't remember. He remembers me. I remember seeing him. His name was Terry, and we just got talking. Boy, the more I listened to this guy, he's like, oh, it's, you know what I mean. I mean, I want to do what you did. That's what I want to be. I want to be a made man. I'm like, okay. I wasn't a made man. I couldn't be a made man, but I can go to certain spots. I go, why? And he goes, oh, no. And I said, what are you doing? And then he just told me everything he did and how he was going to get some more. And, that's the ones, yes, the guys that worked with the gangs and the narc guys doing bad things, that's okay. But this guy pretending to do a hitman, to work for the mob, to do these things and be a police officer at the same time, that was probably my when he probably admitted to everything. And then I told who to tell. His wife could not handle it. She was losing it. And I was talking to her, and I finally said, if you're going to pump her, she will tell you everything. And she did. And he admitted to it afterwards. And he's like, well, how'd you figure this out? And they're like, don't worry about it. And they're like, okay, now this, and it wasn't one of those, hey, good job. Okay, now this is what we need you to do. I'm like, oh, okay, you're welcome. And I mean, the guy was a dick to start with. And, at the department, nobody liked him. And everybody's like, why are you talking to him? I go, I don't know. I don't know any of the other idiots either. I'm not from around here. So I don't know. I'm talking to him. Well, he's a jerk. He's not that bad of a guy. And I thought in my mind, he is. He's an ass. I got closer. When he went down, I kind of say, okay, now this is good. Now I can do this.
Yeah. That's awesome because he fangirled on you and
yeah,
wanted to be everything like you.
Yeah, he would ask me questions about, oh, do you remember this? I'm like, yeah, were you there yet? Yeah, sure. And I'm like, dude, why are you? That's old news. That's history. I mean, that's what I want to do. I go, why? It just, yes, at the time, was it great? Did you feel, yes, but I didn't know any better. I felt, I had power. I had people kissing my ass, and I was a young kid. And that's, he really wanted, that was his fantasy. He just screamed all over that. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, buddy.
So he actually tried to do some hits?
Oh, he did a couple.
Oh, he did actually do it, huh?
Yeah, he did. He was working on another one. And he was trying to, and I told him, this is what he told me, I didn't really, wearing a wire, no, you didn't do that. I went and said, I got information. I gave him information, and I said, pump the wife. She will tell you everything. Just hold that the wife can't, unless she wants to. He wanted to. She did not want to. She was telling me everything because he told her everything. Then he told me everything. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not the testify. No, she did all the work for everybody. And I don't think it really ate at her. And I kind of like pulled those heartstrings with her.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, oh, wow, really? What was he doing? Oh, wow, okay. Which he said, you used to do stuff like that. Yeah, no, I'm not like him, but yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm like, keep it to yourself. Don't say nothing. But you could tell it was killing her. And he was such a dick. I felt actually pretty good. I didn't have to freaking talk to him anymore at the end of this.
That was the best part. There's the win right there.
Oh, there's a win-win all through on that one. I didn't like working at that department, so I got to leave at the same time. And like 4 or 5 guys left the ship. Like I said, that ship's sinking. All them rats are bailing, so it didn't look any bad that I went to another department.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. That is perfect.
Once those feds hit the department, nobody wants to be there for that shit.
No. And you know, I can't even imagine. That's ballsy, man. I'm gonna be a hitman and a cop.
Yeah. And I asked, what got you into this? Oh, no, I knew friends. And I said, what can I do to maybe get in? And they said, go take care of this guy. And he said, I just got in an apartment. I went and did it. Seriously, they said, go do this. You went and did it. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Einstein. You know, did it because he wanted to be part of our crew.
Yeah.
He wanted to find a way in. I don't think they were ever going to let him in. Now, the crew he was talking about, I didn't really know. I know the guy somewhat. We kind of, it wasn't like a family reunion whenever you saw him. You didn't go, hey, oh, and hug your hand. You like, hey, what's up? What you doing in here? Don't poach. Don't come poaching. You're poaching in our area. That's not what you do. Yeah, we're out of here, Aiden. I go, yeah, go ahead and go. You're a shit. Girl, you're a dick. So let's go. Now that we know each other, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And he saw me somewhere, and he's, I remember you. I'm like, I have no fucking clue who you are, but okay.
You know, and you're right. There's no way they probably would have never let him in because he was much better use begging to get in. He'll do anything that you tell him to do, and he's not associated with you. So it's like the win-win.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. But I'm sure when he got taken out, there was no love lost like with those guys with it. But like I said, I don't know. I just know I felt good when I got that bozo or that goofball out. That clown I finally took care of the clown. That was it.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely, man. Well, Aiden, I'm gonna tell you, man, this has been a fascinating conversation. You know, I didn't say it earlier, but my dad lived a life of crime, and I didn't grow up with him. I was adopted by my grandparents, but I had a half brother that came out later, and he lived with him. And man, my brother tried to imitate him to this day. And he's been homeless, he's been on drugs, he's been in and out of prisons, and he did anything he could do to try to impress people that was in that kind of life. And his biggest mistake that started that was he would try to steal cars, but he didn't know how to hotwire them, so he stood in front of gas stations and waited till people left their car on to run in and pay, and then he'd jump in it and take off. And he did it this one time to a Jeep Cherokee. I'll never forget the kind of vehicle. It was a grandma, and the grandson was still in the back seat.
Oh,
So, and he lived right there in Omaha, and where he took the cars to sell them was in Council Bluffs, which is just right over the bridge. So he crossed state lines. He went from Nebraska into Iowa, and then when he heard the baby, he parked the car in an alley, left the windows cracked, all four windows cracked, left the vehicle running, walked an hour away from there, and then called the police anonymously to tell him where the car was. Right, which
oh.
was, but he should have took the car back to Nebraska if he was going to do that, and then there would have been no record that he crossed state lines. But they got him for kidnapping. When they finally did catch him, he had a sawed-off shotgun, so they got him for grand theft auto, terroristic threats with the sawed-off shotgun, all sorts of other stuff. The only thing they couldn't get him on was the dope, because the girl that called the cops on him stole all the dope. And you know, I just shake my head, man, because I know what it is. He wanted to be like our dad, and our dad was just smarter. That's all it came down to. And he didn't do that stuff. He was he ran an escort service, is what he did. But
I can relate to that a little bit, but I never really got to play with that. I was too young to go with those. I seen them, never got
yeah,
to really do much with them. But as far as zipping a car, it's pretty much a screwdriver back in the day. I mean, nowadays you can use a phone, but hot wiring it, yeah, you can't. It's not that hard. I mean, I've gotten a couple cars in my younger age, but it's really every car is different. I mean, you had some cars you had master keys. The other ones you had the Ford was the best. Your Ford master key opened up everything.
Yeah.
But just a screwdriver. That was it. You got it. You popped it, and you were gone.
Yep. Yeah, he's never been very smart, man. And I've watched what drugs have done to him. You know, he got hooked on
Yeah.
meth, and
Ooh,
he doesn't think clearly.
no, that's a bad one to be hooked on.
Yeah. Well, Aiden, I'm going to give you the opportunity if there's any other places that you want people to follow you. I've got the spot down there below for everybody to go to Amazon to buy your book. And I will also put that in all of the descriptions to everything that goes out as well. I am personally going to buy the book because, man, you got me curious. I want to know more.
Well, you're gonna have to let us know what you think of it once you read. But you get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Nobles. You can get on Aiden Gabor .com. You can get on links with that to tell you the stories with us. You can get on conflicting loyalties. You look it up, you'll find it with Aiden Gabor, and Amazon's our biggest one you go through right now.
Okay, absolutely. Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to put you in the green room and throw my exit video out, and I'll chat with you in a few minutes. All right.
Yes, it's been an honor, Donald. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show. It's awesome.
Hey, Aiden, I appreciate it, man. I had a great time. And anytime if you ever have another book come out and you want to come back on, man, you are welcome to come on because I had a great time.
If you ever want me back, let me know, buddy.
All right, we'll do, man.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, man. That was a story. I mean, wow. You talk about a life, and I love how we got into the fact about the pillars of life. Faith is a huge part of that. And I think without it, you'll never be whole, like we talked about. But it helps you put yourself back on that path where you feel like you're doing what you're meant to do. And that was the thing that I took from this conversation that we had was the not always chasing the big money and the thrill and excitement that you got was where you should be. And he found himself on the other side of that line and he felt more at home from there. And he did some amazing things. So I want all y'all, man, go check out his book. I'm going to buy it as well. Go purchase that book. Make sure you leave him a review. Check out his website. And man, I hope y'all enjoy it as much as I'm going to. So y'all take care, man. Be safe. Remember, don't let the day kick your ass. Kick the day's ass.